brunch food and teaching. So can you let me know what you are eating? If you really want, you can tell me what you've had for breakfast. And the saga continues for Amy Ferguson this week. Again, I have been a bad vegetarian. Yeah, you heard it right. You heard it here first. A bad vegetarian. If you listened to last week's show, you'll know that I fell off my salad wagon and started eating meat. Now, listen, I've been through this before, I think. And maybe I've talked about this before, actually. I was a vegetarian until I was about 18. When I was little, I refused to eat meat. And my mum used to get me vegetarian food and make allowances, concessions where she could, which is fabulous. Thank you very much, Mum. Shout out to Kathy. And I was a vegetarian until I was 18. I went to uni and had a bacon sandwich, and then it was game over. So I carried on enjoying meat until a few years ago, when my partner, who's now my wife, was having these allergic reactions. And after months of anaphylaxis and hospitalizations, the doctor suggested that they stopped eating meat. And it worked. So for maybe 2-3 years, we haven't been eating meat at home, and I haven't been eating it anywhere else. Well, that's a bit of a fib, but I have been eating salmon and prawns. Can't get enough of them salmon and prawns. But apart from that, we haven't been eating meat for about 3 years here. Anyway, if you listen to the show, you will have heard about the no vegetarian food at barbecue saga. So a couple of weeks ago, my wife said that they were going to have meat and there was no allergic reaction. So here we are 2 weeks later, and we've had a roast, which is fab. We went out for a roast last week, and our HelloFresh and Gusto has got a couple of meat meals on it now. So as you can imagine, I'm thrilled because I just love food, and the more that I can have, the more food options that I can have, the better. And now we've got meat options back on the menu. I'm over the moon. I can't wait to have some Caribbean food. I haven't eaten proper Caribbean food for about 4 years, and oh my goodness, I cannot wait to have some. So I guess I'm not vegetarian anymore. So yeah, you're listening to Saturday Brunch on Teachers Talk Radio, and very on brand for me. We're talking about food, so let me know what you're having for brunch. I'm out with my very best friend this afternoon after the show, so I'm going to have to line my stomach with whatever is in the fridge at this point. So I need to go down and have a look what we've got. So you lot have got to come through and tell me what you're going to have for your lunch, what lovely stuff you're having. Pop your comments in the chat. Tweet me at @AFergusonTeach1 and let me know what you are having for brunch. I haven't told you about the show yet, have I? So we're talking about loads of different things today. I've got a fab guest, Gemma Clark, who's a primary school teacher in Scotland. She'll be here chatting with me about being a teacher with dyslexia. She'll be also talking about period leave and trans inclusion. Now, I've been trying to get her on the show for a while, and finally we've got her. So she'll be joining us after the news. I'll also be talking about a tweet that I tweeted last Saturday that got 290,000 impressions on Twitter. I'll be finding out what you lot have had for your Saturday brunch, so pop a comment in the chat. You can also call in to win a TT Radio mug or tweet me at @AFergusonTeach1, and I will be back after the news.
This is Teachers Talk Radio, and this is Teachers Talk Radio News with Megan Goods.
This is your latest Teachers Talk Radio News. Researchers from the London School of Economics and the University of Exeter have released findings on the amount of learning students missed out on as a result of the pandemic. Pupils in Wales were on average the hardest hit, missing out on around 66 days of learning, with pupils in Scotland missing out on 64. Pupils in Northern Ireland and England missed out on 61 days over the year. There are normally 190 days in a school year. The data collected covered school term dates, attendance figures, and pupil learning rates, both at home and in the classroom. Ofsted has warned that schools may be using overtly political materials during lessons covering sex, sexual orientation, and gender reassignment due to increasingly political sensitivities in these areas. The recent research by Ofsted looked into how gender issues were taught in schools and found that staff sometimes inadvertently included political material in their classes. Corporate Strategy Director Chris Jones identified an instance in which schools and parents did not see eye to eye on the content and age appropriateness of materials used to teach primary school children about same sex relationships. The lack of a central curriculum intended to give space for schools to devise their own lessons on the topics has contributed to the discrepancies. Boris Johnson has criticised the former Education Recovery Chief Sir Kevin Collins, implying his proposed recovery plan was not ambitious enough. The Prime Minister also stated his support for the longer school day, saying the evidence on lengthening the school day wasn't as powerful as it was on tuition, for instance. But that doesn't mean it's not the right thing to do. I do think it's the right thing to do. That was your latest Teachers Talk Radio News.
Thank you, Megan, for the news. Lovely to hear your voice on a Saturday morning. And I love hearing those different voices on the news. It seems like every week it takes me by surprise. Who's it going to be this week? And this week it was lovely, Megan. Thank you very much for the news. And we're back. And before the news, I mentioned my tweet this week that got 29,000 impressions and more interactions than I could keep up with. The tweet in question said, as a teacher, have you been bullied by a colleague, by a leader, by a parent, or by a young person? Later in the show, I'm going to be sharing some of the responses that I had to that tweet, and I'll be sharing a little bit of my experience about being bullied as a teacher in schools. And I want to hear from you guys, even though I did have 29,000, and I've said that a few times. But we're just waiting for Gemma to join us. Gemma, are you there? I think you've just phoned in. Gemma, hello. I can hear you. Welcome to the show. How are you? I don't, do you know what? There might not even be a sofa anymore since there's been so many updates to Podbean. We never know. I never know what the listeners or the people are going to call in can say. But you made it. You're here. How are you doing this morning? I'm good actually. Do you know what? I've had a coffee, so I feel like very energized. My mum is here listening as well, which is always good to have my mum listening and everybody, all the other listeners at home. So hello to my mum listening at home and hello to you. But fabulous. So the very first thing that we need to do is introduce you. So I know you as a primary school teacher in Scotland and a regular writer for the TES. Is that right? Have I got that right about you? Hmm. Yeah. Oh, I love all of that. So you're the right person to come on Saturday brunch this morning. I think we're going to have a lot in common. Because this is a Saturday brunch show, if you could be anywhere in the world right now, where would you be, first of all, and what would you be eating? Are you a big brunch fan? Oh. Mhm. Yeah. Oh, lovely. Doesn't it? It feels like that life was so long ago, even though when you think about it, 2 years, I think because we've all been stuck indoors, it's felt like such a long period of time. So you've talked about the coffee, you've talked a bit about the chocolate. What would your actual Saturday brunch, Bruges brunch, Bruges brunch, I can't say it, Bruges brunch consist of? What would you actually be having for the meal? Ah. Yeah. What do you have, what are your usual vegan brunch options when you're eating brunch at home? Ooh, nice. Yeah, do you know what? I tried scrambled tofu and it's a little bit too close to scrambled egg. I can't eat eggs. I've talked about this on my show before. It's a bit of a phobia. I can see my mum in my mind's eye in her kitchen laughing at me talking about not eating eggs. I absolutely hate eggs. Anyway, tofu scramble. It's a bit too close to um scrambled eggs, but I do like those seasoned tofu packs that you can buy. Is it Cauldron or something like those? Those are really nice. I'm not sure about the scrambled, it's the texture, I think. But anyway, we are here to talk about teaching. Not talk about food. I could talk about food all day. So you've told us a little bit about yourself, what you teach, and kind of what you're interested in education. How do you find yourself where you are right now in your career? Mhm. Okay. Mm. Mm. So how long have you been teaching for? Oh, wow. 6 years. And what are your kind of aspirations for your career? Where do you see yourself not ending up, but do you know what I mean? Where next? Okay. Mm. Yeah. Mm. So the massage program, I've seen a little bit about massaging schools. I know, so I work at an independent special school, so we've got quite one of our kind of selling points of our provision is that we've got quite an integrated therapy program, and we've talked about massaging schools, and whether or not to have something like reflexology is appropriate, or that kind of thing. So the massaging schools program, I know we've gone a little bit off of topic of all the different things we're going to talk about. Massaging schools program, that is where they apply the pressure to one another. Is that right, or on themselves? Yeah. Ah. Yeah. Mm. Mm. Yeah. Yeah. And definitely, we talk a lot in my school. We have young people who have got autism, and a lot of them respond really well to deep pressure, whether even if it's just squeezing on their own arm, or a weighted blanket, or that kind of touch. Between people that they really respond to, and it seems to really de-escalate and bring them down and get them back to baseline, ready to learn, if you like. But so you're doing a Zoom with 100 people about that, did you say? Hmm. Okay, so if people were listening and thinking, that, how can we get that to work, or how do we get in touch with you to find out about the massage in schools thing? Is it on Eventbrite? How would people find the event? Fab. Great. So we'll post your Twitter handle in the chat anyway, and we'll come back to all the little bits and bobs that you're doing outside of that, and hopefully you'll get some more people interested in massage in schools. So I wanted to talk to you about the article, first of all, that you wrote in the TES in January about dyslexia. Now, I've had a very good friend of mine, Josh, who was on one of my earlier shows, talk about his experience of being a dyslexic teacher. Josh was diagnosed, I think, just with dyslexia when he was in just before he started going to secondary school, and he was kind of, before that, always treated as if he was a naughty boy at school, when really he actually was, employing avoidance tactics to get out of actually reading those kinds of things. And when his mum had him tested and found out that he had dyslexia, and then he's gone on through school and then through university. But during his teacher training, he had quite a few negative experiences about when he was writing on the board, and the person who was observing him would comment and say, if you can't spell it, don't write it on the board. And that kind of knocked his kind of confidence when he's been being a dyslexic teacher. Whereas, he's my friend, he's been my friend for years, and he's one of the most confident people that you could ever talk to or meet, and he just had his confidence literally knocked out of him about writing on the board. But I know in your dyslexia article, why being dyslexic teacher is a gift, you talk about how it can be a success. So you first of all talk about that Richard Branson famously says that his dyslexia contributed to his success. But can you tell us a little bit about your dyslexia journey and how it has impacted your teaching? Mm, yeah. Mm, yeah. Mm. Oh, wow. Mm, yeah. Yeah. Mm, mm, yeah. Mm, yeah. Yes. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. So Josh, what he does is, if he writes something on the board, he will then, and he's not sure whether or not it's spelled right, he will just turn around to his students and say, "Is that spelt right? How would you spell it? Let's look it up together," and that kind of thing. So that he's kind of owning, the dyslexia, but also showing that there are ways that we can overcome it. And actually, I would like you to help help me. I would like you to kind of develop the skills in, maybe being empathetic towards each other and showing, not every time are we going to get something right. And if we don't be afraid to help somebody through it. Just thinking about what you said about ways in which you've learned to cope with your dyslexia. So thinking about not cope, I mean manage and kind of use strategies to yeah to be able to read something or to learn something. What works for you in terms of that working memory thing? What how what do you use to help you remember? Is there a way or any tricks or tips? Mm, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. So, do you think that having dyslexia has made you a better teacher? And in what ways? You shared a few of those examples already. Mm, yes, definitely. And it's inclusion, isn't it? It's a really simple way of kind of what am I trying to say? Enhancing or developing or getting everybody included by talking about something that makes you a little bit different. Because there will always be somebody else who has the same difference or a similar difference to you, and that's a way of like making a connection as well, which I think is lovely. And obviously it works. It works in classrooms and makes young people feel safe if we share a little bit about us with them. In February, you wrote an article about how period leave can work in schools. So there have been lots of conversations on Podbeam about periods and about period leave. So can you tell us a little bit about what it is, what is period leave, and how could it work in schools? Mm, mm, yeah. Yeah, well, yeah, you would, and what's the kind of idea then that it would be 2 days or a week or what? Well, I suppose it would be different for everybody, wouldn't it? Mm, yeah, and that's it, and it's giving people that kind of the option first of all, and then you'll find when people are given the option, they're usually honest about what how much they actually need. No one takes the mickey maybe or says it's one thing when it's actually another thing. So yeah, definitely having the option to actually do it is something that could work. So we're thinking about then the young people, if it's the young people who have periods and we're saying, okay, they can join us virtually, potentially, or they could be, doing home learning tasks, and with the kind of hope that they would be getting the same or similar experience to what they would have if they were actually in attendance at school. How would it work for teachers? Do you think if you think about timetabling, you'd have people off here, there, and everywhere. Is it a concession that we could, would make the concession for our young people? Is it something that it could be considered for staff? Mm, mm, Well, yeah, definitely. So, what do you think? I'm taking a little bit of a left field, but why is there such a stigma still around periods and period health, period leave? Why is it something that is still, even me talking about it not right now, I'm cringing, I'm a bit twitchy. Why is there such a stigma around periods in schools? Mm, mm, yeah, 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 mm. Ah, nice. Yeah, so you did watch the video with all of the class. You didn't separate them into, boys and girls or whatever. You let them all watch it. Brilliant. Mm, yeah, yeah. 100%, and boys that have lots of, people who have periods around them, their mums, sisters, aunts, friends at school, those kinds of things. So they should know about it. So, if something happens, it's not a shock, and they can be, supportive of the people around them who do have periods. So in this country, so when I say in this country, we're not into, different sides of the planet, but in England, I think it's in year 5 that they learn about periods. It might year 5 or the beginning of year 6, I think, typically. And in Scotland, I think it's year 6, 7. Is that what you said? You start doing it in 6 and 7? Mm, right. Mm, yeah. Yes. Mm, yeah. Yes. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, so keep so because confusion can lead to shame, can't it? And then them not being safe. So the earlier we can have these conversations in a way that is age appropriate, of course. And we're not going to be talking, about the necessarily about the ins and the outs. There might be a way of coming up or talking about it in a way that is, I don't know, well, that is age appropriate, I guess. But when you're talking about periods in schools, in with the year 6, 7 class, where do you even start? How do you even start? Mm, yeah. No. Mm. Yeah, and yeah. Obviously, parents have the right, or parents carers have the right to withdraw them. I don't know why they would. It seems beyond me why you would want your young person not to know that this is going to happen to their bodies, because what will happen is they don't know and it happens, and then they're upset and they're shocked and they become confused. I think something's wrong with them. They might try and hide it. All of this will go around and around and around, until we actually then have to have the conversation with them in a sensible way about what periods are. Yes. Yeah. Mm. It's always about painting out the tabloids generally always painting teachers out to be the people who are ruining the world and the enemy. That's what the tabloid. Yeah, exactly. We're just the people whose fault it is, which is incredible to me that's we're everyone's doing their best. If you're a teacher, you're doing your best, and I just don't understand why the tabloids are bullying teachers about anything. It's our fault for everything, and the hysteria that they create around different things. We absolutely, it beggars belief, and it's unsafe as well. It's unsafe for our young people to read those things about us, and it puts teaching and the kind of profession in a at threat. I think and it's dangerous. Um, go on. Oh yes. Mm. Definitely. And it's bullying, isn't it? It's bullying by the tabloids. And actually, coming on to bullying, that's a nice little segue. Actually, this week on Twitter, I asked about bullying in schools, and the response was absolutely incredible. Not incredible in a good way. I had 1,636 likes, 87 retweets, and the tweet has been viewed 290,000 times. 662 people replied, and that was just like on the thread. And then I've had hundreds of people sending me private messages about being bullied. The tweet originally said, as a teacher, have you been bullied by a colleague, by a leader, by a parent, by a young person? What is your experience of bullying in schools as a teacher? Do you think it's a problem that we have amongst the adults that work in schools? Mm, mm. Well, exactly. It's all about modeling. Mm, mm. Yeah, definitely. I think it's because we are so visible. Everybody has had a teacher, or you'd think in some capacity. So, maybe that is it. That's the visibility of teaching. We're like public facing the whole time, and that makes us an easy target. But yeah, hearing some of these responses, which I'll talk about later in my show anyway, but some of the responses that I've had in teaching about bullying in teaching, people have been followed home by parents, or people have been, bullied by a year eight student, and all of these different things that have happened. The most common has been obviously between colleagues, and yeah, for reasons that people never find out, and it's so damaging. But you're absolutely right in what you're saying, is if we can't get the culture right amongst the adults, how can we even think about tackling anti-bullying strategies in our schools if it's not working there between the adults? The kids are not going to be able to be kind to one another, I don't think. Exactly. If we don't model it, they'll never know. I know that we've chatted a little bit about inclusion, and that's something that I wanted to chat with you about. You said that during Pride Month at your school, the young people learned about the meanings of the rainbow flag, and you read a book called George, which is about a trans girl. What did the children think of the book? Mm, yes, yes, yeah. Hmm. Mm, yes, yeah. Mm. Mm. And what about your the staff body at school? Did they know you were teaching the book? What were their thoughts? Yes, great. So that do you think that maybe they'll take it into their own classrooms or have a look at it? What's the likelihood of that happening in your school? Mm, yeah. And just remind us what the author was called. So the book is called George, and then the author is Alex Gino. Yeah, we'll definitely have a look, and I'll link the book in my show notes. So in your actual setting in your school, or maybe with the young people that you've been working with, do you have any experience with other trans students in your setting, or know of colleagues who have experience of trans student in your setting? Mm, mm, Yeah, definitely, 100%. So in reference to that then, does your school actually have a trans inclusion policy or like a specific approach to a to a student identifying as trans or questioning or anything like that? Hmm. Oh, wow. Yeah. Hmm. Yeah. 100%. I put together with actually my friend. There's me saying I put it together. I didn't. That's a lie. My friend put a trans inclusion policy together for her school. My friend Katie Richardson, if she's listening, which is absolutely incredible. And using lots of the guidance from Stonewall or the different trans charities, trans inclusion charities, which is really really useful. So if anybody's listening, they are thinking about how do I even go about writing a trans inclusion specific policy, please do get in touch and I can share Katie's one slash my one that I'm going to say it's my one with people. The main kind of things in it are the discussions around PE and there's a thing about toilets. It's all those kind of discussions that you need to be having in your school as to so that the school is a safe place, exactly what you're saying. And somebody actually said on Twitter actually about how trans inclusion works in their school in on a very what feels like a small level, is that they don't have gendered toilets. So that is something that I think is, it seems like a small step, but just to know that you can go to the toilet in any of the toilets for somebody who is trans, I don't know, I'm not trans myself, but I've heard trans people talk about the difficulties with going into toilets and feeling unsafe in toilets. And that is something that seems small but could be quite a big move in schools, definitely. Yeah. Yeah. Mm, yes. Yeah, definitely. So if a young person in your class came out as trans to you, what do you do next? What would you do next? Mm, yeah, definitely. And then yeah. And what about then the conversations that are had with the adults around the young people? So then the leadership team and then the parents. What do you would you phone their parents? What would you do? Mm, yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I know that there's hysteria around trans inclusion and that it's a safeguarding issue, but it isn't a safeguarding issue. It's a safeguarding issue if the young person says, this is causing them to have thoughts, or thoughts of them harming themselves, or if it rings alarm bells in other places, then yes, of course it becomes a safeguarding issue. In my experience, when I've had young people tell me that they are trans, they then want me to go and tell their parents that they've told me. Almost like, can I be there when you phone my mum, because they haven't told them themselves. And I say, of course, I can support you through this conversation, but this is something that needs to, potentially be happening at home. And if you want my support with it, that is maybe a later conversation that we can have with your parents, and how we're going to approach it from a school kind of position. But and thank you for telling me, and all those kinds of things. But yeah, they often like, Miss Ferguson, will you phone my mum and tell them that I am this, that, and whatever? And I'm just like, okay, let's just rein it back a little bit. I love that you're excited about it, but let's just have a think about, you can have the conversation with your parents, and I can be there to support you in that kind of sense. It's a tricky one to navigate, I think, but definitely something that we need to get better at in schools. I'm really interested to hear about how it is being approached in Scotland with that what did you say it was called? The LGBT in ah mm, yes. 100%, and that consistent approach across schools, because yeah, there probably are loads of schools that are doing it without realizing what they're actually doing, and the inclusions that they're making, and the sense of belonging, all those kinds of things. But I bet there's loads that haven't got a clue. And sometimes it's a place to start, isn't it? Sometimes you just have to be really specific about what language we would suggest that you use. Sometimes it's as simple as what not to say as well. Maybe don't say this, don't say that, mate. Or, we would suggest that you would maybe talk about, like you've said, people might not even know to say, what pronouns would you like me to use when I'm talking about you? Mm, yes. Yeah. Yeah, well, everybody's on that. I say this often. Everyone's on a different journey, aren't they? With diversity, equality, equity, inclusion, and everyone starts from somewhere. And I think it is about, if you do get it wrong in inverted commas, or don't say the right thing in the moment, or whatever, that you say I'm sorry, but then you then correct your actions, your behaviour, what you say the next time. Do you know what I mean? If you get someone's name wrong, you apologize, and then say, that's a real learning point for me. I will try harder next time. I will next time do this. And it's, not berating people when they get it wrong, because people are going to get it wrong. And I'm sure that people, like you said, are keen to do the right thing. There are so many good people in teaching that are, really passionate about inclusion, like yourself, and we want to do the best for our young people. And that's what it comes back to, really. Mm. Yeah, definitely. I'm going to take a little bit of another left turn here. I have are you doing an MA? Have I got that right? Are you doing a master's? Ah, and who's that through? Mhm. Yeah. And it's in professional practice. What does that mean? What does it entail? Mm. So like like leadership and management, or more like how we can, yeah. Sorry, go on. Yeah. Oh, okay. So really to kind of drill down into your day-to-day practice and improving outcomes in schools. Is that right? Or what you can do to do that? Ah, so how are you managing the workload between, you're a teacher and you're a master's student as well? How are you getting on with that? Oh. Mm, yeah. Mm, yeah. Mm, yeah, of course. Yeah. S So next year is the second year of how many years? Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure that yeah, definitely having that flexibility. I'm sure that when you are able to get back out there and get to all the classes, everything sort of then will hopefully click back into place, and you will have that outlet, and then will be able to more fully maybe start to enjoy doing your masters. But I started my masters last week, so I'm not really into the thick of it just yet. But I'm my the thing that I have the most nerves about is the actual writing aspects, like the reading. I think we'll be fine because I read quite a lot anyway. But I mean, it'll be the actually getting my thoughts down on paper and then having it be actually at an academic level and that actually makes sense to somebody else who might be reading it. All those kinds of things. But do you have any top tips for us newbie master students? Mm, yeah. Mm, yeah. Yeah, definitely. I think that I think I'm kind of under the kind of impression from myself that sentence doesn't make sense. Ignore that. I kind of think that I'm doing it because I want for improvement in the school that I work in. So I want to focus on reading for pleasure and getting the young people to read and using accelerated reader and getting them and using doing stop drop and reading assessment to improve their reading. That's what I'm doing it for. And I know, so that's just one part of the masters. But that is obviously quite a big chunk, the actual project that you lead. So some of it is about wanting to improve outcomes in my school and reading for pleasure. But then the other bit is obviously if I do it, where can I go next? Potentially towards headship or maybe another deputy head position somewhere else, who knows. But yeah, so kind of it's a little bit selfish, but kind of it's school focused for me. Mm. Ah, yeah. Yeah, definitely. I definitely had that as a child. My maths is so poor. And I remember my mum saying actually once she went to a parents' evening at my school and the teacher said that Amy is afraid of maths. So I think that's definitely something that I had when I was younger. I think it was because I was I never really failed at anything else other than I seem to always be failing in maths. Well, not failing, but not getting things right in maths. And I think it kind of made things a little bit tricky for me. So maths anxiety is a concept that's been talked about a lot. Is it now, from what you were saying? Mm, mm, yeah. Yes. Yeah. Mm, yeah. Yeah, definitely. I'm interested to hear more about that. So we're coming to the end of our chat this morning, and it's been wonderful. We've talked about so many different things. So I think we were kind of one of those what's it called, jack of all trade, masters of none conversation. Or what do you think? No, definitely. I think we are a bit. We're all about diversity and inclusion, and I've really enjoyed having the chat with you today. So where can our listeners connect with you? Mhm. I think it's Gemma Clark at Gemma Clark 14. Un Fabulous, and that is where they can get in touch with you about massage for schools as well, I'm guessing? Yeah, definitely. So if you're listening out there, you're interested in what Gemma's been doing, and you're interested in massage for schools, please do get in touch. And as for you, Gemma, have a fabulous weekend. Have you already broke up for the summer yet up in Scotland? Yes. Mm. So you're already off. Well, enjoy your summer, the rest of your summer, and have a love. Oh yeah, me. I've got about 8 days left. I'm counting them down. I will. I will. Thank you so much for joining us on Saturday brunch, and take care. Okay. Bye bye. Oh, what a wonderful guest she was. Hopefully, I'll get to meet her in real life at some point. Who knows? Maybe I'll go up to Glasgow. Maybe I'll go up to Scotland and do a little tour.
Creative Resources, made for teachers by teachers. At Creative Resources, we've been rethinking what a classroom can be. We've created a huge range of more than 2,500 original and exciting resources that span across more than 15 different subject areas. Whether you're looking for primary or secondary level resources, careers options, PSHE, arts, or humanities, Creative Resources have the resources for you. We offer full curriculum packages and unique, challenging escape rooms themed on topics such as Shakespeare, Tudors, and fractions. We have quizzes, task cards, Tarsia puzzles, and lots more. Better still, more than 100 resources can be accessed for free. Just visit our website, www.cre8tiveresources.com. You can get 10% off any order you make on our website by using the discount code TTRadio. Creative Resources, made for teachers by teachers. Every teacher loves stationery, right? Imagine getting a selection of fun, beautiful and unique stationery items designed and selected especially for teachers, delivered through your door every month. You need to check out teacherslovestationery.club.
I'm always so excited when the box arrives. It's such a treat.
My Teachers Love Stationery Club box is just a little treat to myself every month.
It's always full of delightful and surprising items, including some really good quality stationery brands like Faber-Castell and Stabilo.
And because you never know what you're going to get, it makes it even more fun and special when you get it.
It feels really great to be supporting a family business that's run by real teachers. I can't help feeling like they just know what I'm going to enjoy using stationery-wise better than I do myself.
Visit teacherslovestationery.club and enter the code TTRadio when you buy your first stationery box to save £2 today. teacherslovestationery.club. Introducing the Leadership Masterclass series by Diana Osagi. Learn how to ditch your fears and develop your leadership confidence. How to deal with difficult colleagues. How to thrive when you lead in a challenging environment. And how to get colleagues to buy into your vision. Join Diana for her online leadership masterclasses starting on the 10th of July and running all the way through the summer. These sessions are the perfect way to prepare and refresh for the next academic year and beyond. Book your place at courageousleadership.co.uk/events now. The first 50 leaders to sign up get an additional free mini coaching session with Diana herself. Don't miss this. Courageous Leadership Masterclasses at courageousleadership.co.uk/events.
And I'm back after the advert break. Goodness me, that's a very, very long advert, isn't it? Teachers Talk Radio. But it gives me a chance to have a drink and reflect on the conversation I've just been having with Gemma. Gemma, thank you so much for joining us on the show today. It's been really, really great talking to you and hearing about all the wonderful things that you are doing up in Scotland at your primary school. Thank you for all the work that you're doing on diversity and inclusion. It's really important that we continue to have these conversations and hear about what other people are doing so people know where they can start. Okay, so I've got to be honest, I am a rubbish Saturday brunch host today because I haven't got a plan for brunch. I haven't eaten yet. I've had a coffee with 3 sugars and I wonder why my trousers are getting tighter. It's because I have 3 sugars in my coffee. It's not the washing machine's fault, let me tell you that. So what are you like having? Pop a comment in the chat or tweet me at afergusonteach1. My friend has sent me a voice note as to what he is having to eat for his brunch now. I have checked with him if it's rude or not. However, I haven't played it, but knowing him, he might have some well, let's just play it. Well, I will play in a second. So this is Josh, my friend who was talking about earlier, who is a teacher with dyslexia. We've had him on the show previously. He's a really good friend of mine. He's a dance teacher. He's from the West Midlands. And yeah, here is what he is having for brunch.
Just some bagels, a little bit of Philadelphia, smoked salmon, and of course a mimosa.
So he's having, I don't know if you could hear that, so I'll just repeat what he said. He said he's having some bagels with a little bit of Philadelphia. Other cheese spread is available with some smoked salmon and, of course, mimosa. I would absolutely devour that right now. It sounds incredible. Now, my friend Becky, who is still over in Dubai, she is on her way back shortly. She is having... or she's had an egg and avocado on toast. I don't like eggs. I can't believe she's mentioned eggs. She knows I don't like eggs, but she's having avocado on toast. Lovely. Imagine avocado on toast with chili flakes right now. A little bit of squeezed lime. Love it. On a sourdough bread. My friend Katie Richardson, who I mentioned earlier, has had nothing. That's a shocker. Actually, she usually has quite nice things. I want to know what you lot are having for brunch this morning. HB History, who is listening, he's on after me. Tom Hopkinsberg has had 2 coffees this morning. I think you've had that many coffees because you're a bit stressed about your microphone, aren't you, mate? But I'll let you know if it's working in a little bit. And I feel your pain, but we can't just survive on coffee. That is just such a teacher trick, isn't it? I need to figure out what I'm gonna have. I'm gonna have to raid the fridge after this. I don't know what is left out of the HelloFresh and Gusto bonanza that we've been eating lately. But I do need to think about it, what I'm going to have, because I'm starving. My stomach is rumbling. Oh, I'm not. Oh, sorry about that. I played the closing music. I'm definitely not going anywhere. I meant to press the transition. Alas, never mind. We are still here. I was just going to do a little transition and then start talking about my absolutely mahoosive tweet that I tweeted last Saturday. So the tweet that got 290,000 impressions this week, I never dreamed it would get a reaction like that. So the tweet said, as a teacher, have you been bullied by a colleague, by a leader, by a parent, by a young person? Now, as I mentioned previously, I had 664 replies to this tweet. So those are the public replies that have come through on Twitter, and I had loads of DMs. And when I say loads of DMs, I'm talking about hundreds of DMs, and I could not believe what I was reading. I'd like to share some of them with you in a moment, but I'm going to keep them anonymous to protect the people who shared them with me. You can, however, read the public ones that are on my Twitter anyway. Please do go and have a look at the thread. It's shocking. It's absolutely heartbreaking. And just thinking about what Gemma was saying actually earlier is that if the adults can't get it right between themselves in schools, okay, can't get how we treat each other right, we're not being kind, that is then modelled to the young people. If we can't get it right amongst ourselves, how can we expect for the young people not to bully one another, or how can we expect them to be kind to each other if we're not kind to each other? So have you ever been bullied? Share your comments in the chat. Do tweet me, DM me, send me a smoke signal, whatever. Let me know. Now, yeah, I've been bullied, and it's taken me this long really to realise what was happening, that it was actually bullying, that I was being bullied in the workplace, in a school where I was working as a teacher a few years ago. I genuinely thought that the head teacher just didn't like me, that maybe it was a personality clash. And well, yeah, I was right. But for what reason she didn't like me, I don't know. And I guess I'll never find that out anyway. But anyway, there was one specific incident that sticks out to me, which is when she came to my classroom. I think it was in 2017. It might have been 2016. Came to my classroom and called me an idiot, asked me if I was stupid, and said that I jeopardised an Ofsted inspection all because of my hairstyle, which is basically what it came down to. And that was just one of the occasions that I can talk about with actually not giving too much away about who I'm talking about and what school it was. People who know me or are close to me will know where it was, and the person who I'm talking about will know who they are. But without giving too many details as to where it was. To keep them anonymous, to protect them really. But what was really weird about what happened to me, more weird about them being screamed at, or treated the way that I was treated, more weird than the horrible things. On the last day of term, when I was leaving, I didn't attend the leaving speeches and made an excuse that I'd had to rush off. But the head teacher sought me out. She wanted me to come to the leaving speeches, and when I didn't turn up to leaving speeches, she came and asked me to go to her office. And at this point, in the school year, I was already leaving, and I hadn't been to her office for a while without a union representative because of what had been going on at the school. Anyway, I somewhat reluctantly went along with her to her office, and she presented me with a huge bunch of flowers, a bottle of Prosecco, a card, etc. And she said to me with tears in her eyes, "Thank you for all your hard work. Thank you for everything that you've done for the school, and you've gone above and beyond. If you change your mind, you'll be welcome back, and we're sad to see you go." Okay, in that moment, and still am actually reading it back and thinking about what she said to me. I'm so shocked that somebody who made my life hell for almost a year seemed to be on the surface of it, and with no audience around. It was just me and her in her office. She seemed to be genuinely sad that I was leaving the school, and in not so many words, begged me to stay and change my mind about going. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. And in all I could manage to do in that moment was just to say thank you. Thank you. And I grabbed the Prosecco and I got in my car and I drove home crying. I don't know whether I was crying because I was so relieved that I was out of there, it was over, and I was never going to see her or the school again. The kids there were great, but I didn't enjoy working there because of what I'd experienced. And whether I was relieved, that's why I was crying. Whether I was crying because I couldn't believe what she said, I don't know. It was a whole world of emotions, and I was glad to be out of there. Anyway, even though I went to a wonderful school after that school, the school that I went to was Trinity School in Newbury, which is an absolutely brilliant school over in Berkshire, an absolutely brilliant school led by Dr. Charlotte Wilson, the wonderful team there. And even though I taught at that school for 2 years before I got to the job that I am now, it was a wonderful school, real sense of belonging, real sense of community. Even then, I was still very much living with the hangover from that experience that I had with that head teacher and some of her leadership in that school. I never had the doubt that I had about myself before I worked there. I know that I work really hard. I work late nights. I work weekends. I work in the holidays. I give my all to my job. But because of this experience I had in 2016 to 2018, I never feel like I'm doing enough or what I'm doing is good enough. I'm constantly doubting myself and the decisions that I make because of this experience that I had at the school that I worked at a few years ago. And this bullying tweet got me thinking about whether or not we can actually ever recover from bullying, whether it's you're bullied at school or whether or not you're bullied as an adult in your workplace, by a colleague, by a teacher, by a student, by a parent, whatever. Can we actually ever recover from it? What do you like think? Pop a comment in the chat. Call in or tweet me at @afergusonteach1. Is bullying in the workplace something you can ever get over or something that you can recover from? And I'll share some of your responses after a message from our sponsors.
Every teacher loves stationery, right? Imagine getting a selection of fun, beautiful, and unique stationery items designed and selected especially for teachers, delivered through your door every month. You need to check out teacherslovestationery.club.
I'm always so excited when the box arrives. It's such a treat.
My Teachers Love Stationery Club box is just a little treat to myself every month.
It's always full of delightful and surprising items, including some really good quality stationery brands like Faber-Castell and Stabilo.
And because you never know what you're going to get, it makes it even more fun and special when you get it.
It feels really great to be supporting a family business that's run by real teachers. I can't help feeling like they just know what I'm going to enjoy using stationery-wise better than I do myself.
Visit teacherslovestationery.club and enter the code TTRadio when you buy your first stationery box to save £2 today. teacherslovestationery.club.
And we're back. Okay, some of the responses to the original tweet. As a teacher, have you been bullied by a colleague, by a leader, by a parent, by a young person? I'm going to read out some of the responses anonymously, and I'm doing this to show you that if you are being bullied, that you're not alone. Lots of us in the profession have experiences. So please reach out to somebody. You can reach out to me. The only way we can the only way we can fix any of this is if we talk about it. There are so many of them. Tom Hopkinsberg's actually said we might need a book of these. The thing is, it's quite traumatic to talk about and to share it. Yeah, it's not that it makes you feel that you're not alone. It genuinely feels like horror stories that I'm gonna share with you. This is one that stuck out to me quite early on. So the answer was yes, by a principal during my NQT year. I have a chronic health condition which at times cause absence, but all of this was discussed at interview. Him and PA were horrendous, would pull me into the office for anything. One time, because I had the window open, in the classroom. Another time because I asked for the Christmas lights at the entrance of the school to be static instead of the flashing setting to reduce my seizure risk. I was told I'd have to go through the back door as this was an unreasonable adjustment. The list is endless. Gave me 18 classes across a 2-week timetable and wondered why I struggled with marking. Had a thermometer in my room so that he could track in my room as temperature was a trigger for seizures. If it was, it was if he seemed to. If it was what he seemed too low, his PA would ring my classroom, was told to stay in my classroom during days such as non-uniform days, as kids were allowed to bring in flashing head boppers, had teachers spy on me on Facebook without my knowledge, tried to discipline me for his Facebook status because I wrote about having a snow day, refused to pass my first SQTS term, made lives difficult for other members of staff who were my friends and spoke to me. The list is endless. That's just one example. The next one, I'm pretty sure my kid's teacher was bullied by the head, and then she targeted her anger onto my child. The head was awful and lied to parents. I felt sorry for staff in that school. I removed my child. One more that says, yes, sadly, more than once in the year since I qualified, by colleagues and those in positions of authority. Another one, not directly, but my two colleagues in upper Key Stage 3 in my NQT year were, and the effect trickled down to me with nothing I could do about it. Both teachers regularly sat at their desks at 3:30 and cried under the unreasonable pressures by the failing head. Yes, by a head teacher when I was an NQT. Turned out it wasn't just me, but at the time I didn't know others were being treated badly. A few months down the line, after opening up to a more experienced teacher, I discovered I wasn't the only one. Yes, by a head and CEO, along with many others at the time. It was horrific, led me to questioning my sanity and my ability. Yes, by head of department, affected me longer than I knew. Still appears in my dreams anytime I'm feeling insecure at work. Thankfully, my new school are incredible and I have fabulous current relationships with my line managers. So lots and lots of comments here about how bullying has affected people in the profession. Yes, it was a teacher in the profession longer than I observed a lesson as the English lead and graded her satisfactory, and she challenged me in the corridor in front of the children and pinned me to a wall. Goodness me, this is absolute. I can't believe that these things go on in school by the adults. Yes, bullying takes many forms and it's prevalent in schools, absolutely. And sadly, bad teachers do it and model bullying behaviour in front of their class, which condones bullying behaviour. My dissertation was on bullying, fascinating area of human behaviour. Yeah, another one, bullied by a colleague in my department. It ramped up while I was pregnant to the point that where I found a new job on maternity leave. It was toxic. And as soon as I was gone, she started on others. I had panic attacks on the tube into work at 7 months pregnant. Thanks to her. There are lots of comments to say that people have left their jobs and even left the profession. Haven't we got a retention crisis in teaching? It's no wonder that all this is that this must be contributing to people leaving the profession. There's lots of comments that say my face didn't fit or that nepotism is rife. I've had comments where lots of people saying that when they were pregnant, they've been told to hide their bump or to tell them to shut up because you're not ill, you're just pregnant. No concessions or even care has been taken over these people who are pregnant. Loads and loads of NQTs being bullied. There were some stats from Schools Week in June 2020 in an article called "The 5-Year Teacher Retention Rate Worsens," and other workforce findings and stats from the workforce census that say only 67% of people who qualified in 2014 are still teaching after 5 years. So clearly we've got a problem here. And what I don't understand is why experienced teachers are horrible to NQTs. We are all busy. Yeah, but being kind costs nothing. And it isn't a waste of time. People forget that they were NQTs once and it is tough. So show some compassion and some empathy, and let's help these NQTs and ECTs and support them into our profession, because essentially that will make our life easier as well. If you can't be kind to somebody for any other reason, do it because it will make your life easier. You know, being angry, being unkind to people is a waste of energy. You know, we need to support these young people. I say young people, that's a massive assumption that all NQTs are young, you know, in their 20s, but you know, they're not. We do need to support all of our NQTs and ECTs into the profession, and yeah, because they're going to be great colleagues of ours for many years to come, hopefully. Anyway, so it was heartbreaking reading all of these replies and the DMs, and I've been getting loads of them over the last week from teachers who have been bullied or are currently being bullied. I've had lots of tweets saying that they wish they got their union involved. And if you suspect that you are being bullied, I would suggest that you, first of all, talk about it to somebody, and preferably not somebody in the school, or if it is somebody that you would trust in the school. And also do talk to your union rep about it and see what they think. You will need support through this, and you might not be the only one that this is happening to. The union might be aware of similar things that happen in your school, in your you know, mat trust or whatever. So I tweeted very briefly about my own experience of when I was called stupid and asked if I was an idiot, and whether or not you can actually ever fully recover from something like this. And I had some responses to that tweet as well. Connor Delaney said, honestly, he went from a thriving middle leader to a nervous wreck at breakneck speed. The most valuable thing has been time, the time to step back and remember the love you had for your job and the fact that you're bloody good at it. That's an excellent point. Yeah, time is a great healer. And yeah, remember what you're good at. And yeah, the fact that you are good at it. Lucy Charlotte said, sometimes I don't think you ever recover, as part of it stays with me always. Being told I should consider another career, as I clearly didn't understand how the children learn. Surrounding myself with positive people has been a lifesaver, or, in brackets, career saver. Abby Whitehead said, I don't think you can ever fully heal from it, to be honest. I just make sure that everything I am as a leader is everything my bully was not. If anything, she gave me a great model of what the worst type of head of department looks like. And then she's put a smiley face. Borhala Borge said that I'm unfortunately still working with a colleague who told me it must be a brilliant thing being rubbish at your job as you're in front of a class. I think people think that everyone who teaches has to be a nice person by default. So it's hard when we meet the nasty ones. Yeah, 100%. Primary co-head said, I think that not knowing, I need to practice that again. Let me try that again. I think knowing that not everyone is like that got me through it, knowing it was one sad little person who obviously was so insecure about herself that she had to take it out on me. I'd love her to know where I am now. Yes, exactly, primary co-head. I would love that head teacher who was mean to me to know where I am now. But honestly, I just try to put that experience out of my mind and get on with the job that I'm doing to the best of the ability for the young people and the staff in my school. And that's the thing with teachers, isn't it? No matter what happens, we keep doing our best for the kids. And that kind of leads me on to my final point, really. My final point on this, we are all working towards doing the best for our young people, so let's be kind and supportive to one another, and make sure that we reach out and talk to each other when we aren't feeling great, so that we can support each other. Before I go today, I just wanted to remind you about the book that I'm reading at the moment, Lighting the Way, The Case for Ethical Leadership in Schools by Angela Brown. I'll be chatting about that book in the next couple of weeks. If you've read it, or if you're reading it, or if you want to read it, come and chat with me about it on here. Get in touch, send me a DM at @AFergusonTeach1 and we'll get you on the show and you can be part of my very first book club. What a brilliant show we've had for you today, folks. I hope you've enjoyed it. It's been great chatting with Gemma Clark. You can connect with her on Twitter at Gemma with a G. That is Gemma_Clark 14, and get in touch with her and hear all about the school massage in schools program and all the wonderful other things that she's doing. Don't forget that at Teachers Talk Radio, we're always keen to hear from new voices. So get in touch and we'll get you on the show and you can tell me what you are having for brunch. Make sure you tune into Teachers Talk Radio all weekend and all week, in fact. Have a wonderful week and I will catch you, she says, on the flip side. And when I say that, it makes me cringe. So if you're cringing, that's okay, because I'm cringing at the fact that I just said catch you on the flip side too. Have a wonderful week. Bye-bye.
You've been listening to Teachers Talk Radio. Tune in live and listen back at ttradio.org. We look forward to hearing from you next time on Teachers Talk Radio.